Yeah, I come from men that stand. I'm in the field and you just sit in the stands. Take that bass out your voice. If you ain't got no gun in your hand, I do what I want. And you don't even do what you can, you do what you told. I got no love for my foes. They can mimic my delivery and copy my prose. But what they can't comprehend is how I stick to this code. It's either in you or not. It's not the kicks and the clothes. They ain't cut from the same call. Can't come from the same loom. Fit in similar shapes or even sit in the same room. Confusing authenticity with part of the costume. I'm teaching gifted children. You can't come in this classroom.
Dare to struggle, dare to win.
Yo. Welcome to Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. Guy Geechee out here with my brother, Dr. Yusef, Bunchy, Shakur.
What's up, black man? How you feel?
Cooling, man. Working these cold streets, man. You know, it was extremely hot in Atlanta. I don't know, for a week or so, and now it's like I think it's gonna snow, man. I'm ready to get out here to shit again.
Yeah, come Detroit.
Nah, it's colder, right? Ain't y'all snowing up there?
We about to get 7 inches, they say, between the Maryland. Yeah, the Maryland, bro. So we right behind y'all.
You can keep all that snow, man. Listen, man.
Keep it all up this way.
What'd you say?
Let's say we can keep it all this way.
Yeah, I'm good on that, bro.
Actually, I can deal with the snow. It's when, like, last week we had -5 below weather.
I can't do it. Listen, man, I want to welcome all of y'all to Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. So we're sharing y'all black radical politics from CNB's standpoint. I'm here in Atlanta. Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur is in Detroit. Here on Black Liberation Media. Shout out to the other comrades with the other dope shows. What we would love for you to do is grab that link, copy that joint, and share it with some people so they can get a more radical analysis. Today we're gonna have Thandisizwe Chimurenga. I don't know if I said that right, but I'm trying.
Man, good job. You did better than I would.
You can't even do it that way, do you?
No.
I don't even know if you know how to pronounce it. But yeah, but we got our good sister coming up to drop some fire today, and then we'll be having a highlight from our Sacramento chapter. So make sure you are sharing these links with your peoples so they can catch some of this fire today.
Is there any current events, man, in Atlanta, around the country, around the world that hit you?
Man, no. So we've been so Hiram came down and trained some of the younger organizers. So that was a good experience. And I'm just getting back from DC. I was in DC for a week, but
okay.
Yeah, nothing major, man. We just trying to figure some shit out here. Do rebuilding thing down here. How about y'all?
Well, one, man, we need to bring Hiram. We need to interview Hiram. That would be dope, and I think a lot of fun.
Hiram is for those who don't know Hiram is the one who I think Jared made him famous. I don't know if Jared put this on here, but Hiram,
you just don't read, beloved.
I'm sure all of y'all know this brother, but he be reading, he be speaking.
As they say in the Porsche, can we get a rewind on that one?
Man, he be reading, he be doing all type of shit. But yeah, that's a good brother. Yeah, we're gonna bring him on. So, actually, the next couple of weeks we got a few of my good people coming in. We'll keep those secrets, but yeah, we're gonna bring Hiram on one day too.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, Detroit, man. We just grinding away. There was a tragedy that just happened. I mean, a day or two. I mean, actually should make national news, international news. It was a black mother, who was unhoused, and as a result of being unhoused, she took her kids and they were sleeping in the van, and they was in the parking lot in the casino structure, and because it was so cold, two of her kids froze to death.
Damn.
Man, it hit me hard, and there's a story still unfolding. The first report, like one news, like apparently they died. It was just real soft, and then now it's saying that she went down to the city, was seeking help or trying to get somebody for help, and as usual, didn't help her or gave it a runaround, or the funds that's supposed to be there wasn't there, and the city, it's like split. One said she did acknowledge that she did, another saying that she didn't. And it's not my trouble with the subject of the conversation, not about the city per se, but again, I think what we're not doing enough to create the alternative, to create the outcomes, to be able to impact and bring in. I mean, like, I know this story is no different than other stories that we've heard or will hear in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we call ourselves serious organizers, movement builders. We really have to, address this and get to this. Yeah.
Now, I think I saw the picture of her in passing on social media, but damn, I didn't even know that happened. But
yeah, so that what you're saying now, that just came out like this morning or late yesterday. Her interviewing, interviewing and talking about it, man. It's heart wrenching.
that's it. So you said that this was in your community, or like how what was that proximity to where y'all do work at?
It was that she was at a casino, in a casino structure in downtown Detroit. So that's maybe about 5 miles and things. But I mean, unfortunate reality, like Detroit has been deemed this turnaround city. Like a lot of urban cities that go through struggles. Detroit also went through a bankruptcy, and I think before or after, I can't remember. At some point, we had a financial manager. A lot of predominantly black citizens in Detroit ultimately end up getting financial managers. And so in in the last 30 years, we've had a white mayor who's finally decided not to run. And like most major cities, the downtown is where all the investment goes. And you can see the clear demarcation of that historical terminology of two Americas, one white, one black, still separate and unequal. And Detroit is very clear of that. And so there's been a intentionality of ignoring, neglecting, and this of poor black folks. A city that's over 40% black and poor, and 70% are ran by the households are ran by black women. So just putting that in the context, I think is even more evident the need for stepping our game up and movement building. And shit. What's up, man? You ready for this interview today?
And I'm my bad. I was talking and I muted myself. But no, I asked this before, and I'm curious. I don't even know if I got your thought on it, but so obviously we are organizations who, at least in theory, claim to be struggling for power.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are organizations who have programs. Some organizations have a lot of money, a little bit of money to help run those programs. Then you have some organizations struggling for policy in electoral politic arena. So I wonder how you kind of, when you think about we're not doing enough, how do you see the struggle between programs versus struggling for public?
Say that last part again.
Like programs versus public struggling for public policy. So like with your program, you probably can feed. What the hell? I don't know what that. The program you probably can feed 100 people. With public, you can feed over 1,000 or more. Whatever. Like, I wonder how you look at the two different.
Well, I think one, and as I've been beating the drum lately, like first we have to be clear: are we authentic grassroots organizing with nationalist, revolutionary agenda characteristics, or are we a nonprofit organization, or are we a hybrid of both? I mean, I think these are, and this helps determine the answer to your question. Theoretically, for me, it's not an either or; it's a both and. I think we have to impact policy for the present moment because of where we're at. But then fundamentally, we have to be entrenched in the grassroots, organizing, educating, bringing people in, and allowing people to to fill up our ranks, and as they fill up our ranks, they're taking leadership and determining and defining. I think that helps us shape the struggle around power. And when I say we're not doing enough, not to shit on what we are doing, it's just when tragedies like this, it just makes you look at yourself and make organizations look at ourselves and say, wow, what could we have done to save this mother and this children? And unfortunately, there's going to be another tragedy tomorrow, and we have to step our game up. But I don't think we're doing enough of really having the conversations of controlling the circumstances that's determining how we move. Finance is necessary in this struggle because you don't own what you're trying to organize out of, and others are paying for it, and then they own how you organize. So there's no. I think that's a subject or topic of itself. One day we should actually do. I think Hiram would be a great person to have that discussion with. It's something like if you asked me this question like 10 years ago, I definitely would have gave you a different answer than I'm giving you today. And a lot of it is like when I went did my PhD, it was in social change and public policy. And social change is pretty social justice, grassroots, which I know very well. Policy was something like, I knew, but I wasn't strong in. And I wanted to get strong in to get a balance to bridge that gap. Because at the end, and it's not necessarily about reform, but it's also about, obviously we have policies, right, that impact us right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of pending the revolution, pending the liberation, pending the victory.
Yeah. I think I always argue if we want to, reach the mass and get some of our ideas in the mainstream, I do think we should run more efforts in struggling around public policy, but also just having those conversations and those information in the larger mainstream. So as I said before, our study group, we're studying The Ballot, The Streets of Both by August Nips, who studies Lenin and Engels and Marx. And they talk about like when you're running in when you living in an undemocratic society, such like the US, you have to be able to, run your candidates for two particular reasons. One, to politically educate people and get your thoughts in the mainstream, but two, count your support of how many people fuck with your politics before you can even do anything like a revolution or any upheaval or uprising. You'll know how many people that you have in your camp. So I think there is a radical way to use electoral politics and engage in public policy and struggle for what they call non-reformist reform. But I also think we're not having enough serious, as you said, conversations around that. So I do look forward to something like that. Maybe we even bring August Nimpson and Hiram on together and have that conversation.
I think part of that conversation too, I don't think there's, and you do a lot of research and studying, is have we done the research and studying to evaluate the candidates that we've ran and won. Like Detroit, Coleman Young is considered like Jesus. He's the first Black mayor, and I think in other major Black cities, and how they come out of our radical ranks and they end up getting co-opted. And we think running candidates is revolutionary. We think running candidates is radical, and it can be. But if we don't have a base, we end up losing out in the long term because, again, Geechee or Yusef get on the city council or in the mayor's office, we're deeply entrenched by enemy lines. And so we don't have the direct connection to the people, then we can lose ourselves. And we saw some of the best and brightest do that. I saw a boy out that was part of the Panthers in Chicago. That was a congressman, like seen forever.
He was already turning right wing by the time he started running. So, and in fact, they played him he had a character in the movie. So I agree though. I think, what me and Jared talk about is like, you got to go to the block party first and then skip the party and go to the after party. So struggling to organize a deep block, Bobby Rush, that's his name.
Yeah, Bobby Rush. Yeah.
Struggling to organize a deep block, right, of Black folks, and then eventually organizing and building your own party I think it's two different things. But yeah, I think it's something to struggle through. But without further ado, I think we should take a quick break and bring our sister up and make sure that y'all get a chance to roll something up really quick and or pour your favorite drink. And yeah, we'll be back in just a few. You ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sure?
Let's get it.
I'm throwing copper at the coppers, but I'm shaking like Morocco. Say my prayers with the pistol, serve the sinners with the chopper. All my buddies got it from scratch. My house had Betty Crocker. His mama owned D. He ain't even get no shot up. Profit is invisible. Profit come from product. He thinking buffet. He can't comprehend no potluck. God bless the child with his own powder to rock.
That was not enough time to go get no drink. It take me that long just to get out the chair. What y'all talking about?
The drink should be close to you at all times. You're supposed to pour up and throw back.
Oh, I'm supposed to do it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Preparation. I got it.
Man,
Yusef, go ahead.
yeah, it's an honor to have you on here. It's an honor to me in this chair to help conduct this interview with my longtime comrade, friend, associate, sister, furious one who ain't afraid to call you out and tell you about yourself in public, in private, and on the side.
Well,
Someone I've been knowing over 10 years, not just in the social media world, but in real life. We was out there in Ferguson, in those Ferguson streets. We was out in the Detroit streets. Someone I look up to, admire, and things. My sister, my struggle, Thandie. Thank you for being on here with me and my good brother Geechee.
thank y'all so much for having me. I'm looking forward to working more with you, Geechee.
Absolutely. Likewise. So,
When I was there in Detroit, it was 2014.
Yes.
I think when you were talking about the sister, I was like, I think I know that casino. It was like only one casino downtown, right?
The Greek towns.
Greek town. Yeah, I was like, oh man, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's tragedy, definitely tragedy.
So what? So I know I pronounce your name probably wrong multiple times, but how do you feel? Use Sizwe. We can call you Sizwe today.
Well, the rule is you got to pronounce it correctly at least once.
Did I do it? Did I do it the first time?
I didn't. Let me hear you. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm gonna try again. It's Thandisizwe Chimurenga.
Almost. The H is silent.
Oh,
Thandisizwe.
Tanda.
But that was good. That was very good. So you can call me Sizwe. I'll let you go because you're a comrade.
I appreciate that. So look, we know that you are rooted in a bunch of good work. There's a recent book that you published that kind of talks about, or two actually, right? That talks about like the history of our beautiful sisters in the struggle. And I think I want to get started with, even before we get into like the US organization and the Black Panther parties and orgs like that, I'm curious what you have seen or experienced or studied organizations then versus now. And I'm gonna pretext this question because me and Yusef always struggle with our younger comrades that we can't bring the Black Panther Party into the 21st century. So if you could kind of lay out first how you feel organizations today comparison to organizations back then.
Yeah, I'm assuming Yusef is saying the one you can't bring it into the future. Are you arguing that you can, Geechee?
No, I don't want.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. No, I'm in agreement, and it can be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use nerve wracking, but it can be very, very annoying. It's almost as if we have no creativity, no imagination. The Panthers were a phenomenon. They were here at a particular time. They arose out of a particular context. Many of the conditions that led to their creation still exist, but that organization is gone. The elders are still, many elders from that movement are still here that we can learn from and draw from. But, we need to come up with something for this time to meet this moment. And wearing berets and stomping around and all black and fatigues. And, I remember Kathleen Cleaver came out here and did a talk. Now, the Panthers started in 1966. She said, we came out of that black in 1969, but you really couldn't tell it by the imagery that continues to exist of the Panther Party, which is due to America's fear and hatred of the Panther Party, and by what so many people gravitate towards. So it's like this return to nostalgia on the one hand, but at the same time, we need to, again, come forward into the future. And, the uniform gave them a uniform look, although I did not know until I began researching it. The Panthers in LA, they had a whole totally different uniform. Right. They wore short sleeve sweatshirts, powder blue. And when you see that, some photographs of Panthers dressed like that, that lets you know those are LA Panthers. So I like the idea of uniformity to a certain extent, but uniformity without conformity. And most definitely the programs that the Panthers started us doing for ourselves, that's not unique to the Panther Party. We've always had a self-reliant, a self-sufficiency streak in our people, in our community. We need to continue to do that. But we need to stop trying to new Panther this and Panther that. And come on, man. Let's have a little bit more creativity, a little bit more imagination, I think.
No, that's a dope answer. And staying in tune with that, my question is, like, when we think about activism and organizing, I think people look at it from a very, like, just limited way, right? Mm-hmm. And I know of you've used organizing activism as a writer, as a thinker, as a theoretician. And so
mainly activism, though. Yeah, I'd like to make that distinction. I am not an organizer, and I know it. But I can spot one when I see one, and I appreciate and respect organizers.
Yes,
but I can't call myself organized because then they'll come beat me up, and I'm not having that.
Gotcha. So, thank you for that clarification. Mm-hmm. But as an activist through journalism, mm-hmm. can you talk about how you landed there, and where on the timeline of you embracing New African nationalism also played a role?
Yeah, that was actually around the same time period. I became involved in activism. I'm not even going to say the year because that's doing too much. But I would be a part of demonstrations. And if we got some publicity in the local press, afterwards, I'd look at it like, no, that's not what happened. No, that's not right. So I had always been a writer, but I began to, I was doing creative writing in school as a child, etc. But I began to turn towards writing up what the different organizations or movements, activities I was involved in had done, so that it would be a correct record. And at that time period, Black newspapers, which are usually understaffed, they love it when you write the story for them.
Okay.
They love that stuff. So they would print my stuff all the time because the work had already been done for them. They do some fact checking and boom, there you have it. I said, okay, well, as a matter of fact, what had happened was we had been protesting, I think a local politician, and, he didn't want to meet with us. I'm not exactly sure what it was around. It may have been around Latasha Harlan's murder, but he didn't want to meet with us. He would ignore us. And a few years later, I ended up calling this same politician. I had changed my name by that point, but I said I was with blah, 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 blah news magazine. Oh, yes, he'll be right with you. I was like, oh, so this is how I get y'all. Bet.
Okay.
Cool.
So we kind of go into, like, I guess, the overview of not bringing in the former organizations and kind of into your history a little bit. Mm-hmm. So this latest book, one of the latest books that you mm-hmm. Assisted with, What We Stood For. Could you kind of share what that lays out, especially as it relates to internal contradictions of the organization that were past and maybe even some currently? But can you lay out the book, What We Stood For? What is it about?
So to give some background, there's a project out here at one of the universities called the Black Power Archive. And it's a subsection of an oral history project. The oral history project was looking at civil rights in Los Angeles. And one of the associate directors, Dr. Karen Stanford, wanted to ensure that Black Power era activists had their stories included. It is of critical importance, not only that we sit at the feet of our elders to learn from them, but that their stories are documented. So many of them are passing away. We've lost so many in the last 2 years. Get their stories down either through video or audio and then transcribe it so that we will have that record for future folks, future generations to study from. And one of the oral histories suggested that we interview Deborah Jones. And the person said, well, who's Deborah Jones? Oh, that's the one that Chimurenga and them tortured. And the people are like, she's alive and here in Los Angeles? Oh, yeah, she stay over on blah, 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 blah. Yusef, she was at one of the Slauson reunion picnics where Kumasi and a bunch of other Panther elders attend. So it was like, oh, put her in touch. They sat her down. They got her story. And after dealing with that, the suggestion came that she needs to write a book. And this sister, Thandisizwe, she can help you with the book. And so that's how we met. And that was back in 2019. So over the course of those 4 to 5 years, interviewing Deborah, having interviews with other activists throughout Los Angeles, wanted to be sure that we put her story out there for people, for generations to hear it exactly from her, but also what are the lessons that come from her story. One of the lessons is always trust your intuition. Another lesson is know a cult when you see it. Know when somebody ain't right. You know, when you recognize red flags, they are indeed red flags. And we call them red flags for a reason. You know, danger is up ahead. And forgive yourself and continue to struggle and be of service in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But the main thing was trusting your intuition. That's the main thing she wants young people, young women in particular, to understand that your intuition will not lead you astray, and that you have a right to tell your story. Your story needs to be told.
In reading the book,
and in case I wasn't clear, yes, Deborah Jones is one of the 2 women who was assaulted physically and sexually in 1970 by members of the US organization. The charge that Maulana Chimurenga, co-founder of the US organization, said to be the creator of Kwanzaa, was named as the conspirator and the ringleader. He was not charged with physically assaulting Deborah, although Deborah says that he did participate at some point over a 3-day weekend where they were held and tortured. He was found guilty, sentenced to 10 years in prison, ended up doing 4. So every year in December, when people begin to attack Kwanzaa, they talk about Bunchy and John over the US organization. And then they say, well, you know, they tortured 2 sisters, but I never knew those sisters' names. I never knew if those sisters were still alive. They would always be used as a hammer against Chimurenga. And so that's the other reason that this book was necessary. Deborah was not and is not a hammer. She is a human being, a real live person. And despite what Maulana Chimurenga continues to say to this day, even said a few years ago on this very same platform, she says he did it.
So insisting with the book and upon me reading it, it felt like a coming of age story.
Yeah, it was.
And particularly like, you know, we George Jackson, Malcolm X, and it's not as detailed, but it was. I appreciate it because, you know, in reading Astada Shakur, which is a coming of age story as well, but it read different. Mm-hmm. In terms of, the way it was written, and I think the simplicity of it makes it very powerful for sisters and brothers in general that read it, and to the traps that ultimately happens. And my question is,
real quick, let me jump in. I also thought that was important also, that we talk about the experience of Black girls. Okay. Black girls back then and in addition to today.
No, that's good. Because I think you just alluded to it, but I'm not sure if this is accurate. So this book, and what Deborah writes, is the first public statement in relationship to Chimurenga and what happened.
Outside of what happened in the courtroom, this is the first public statement.
Okay. Wow, that's powerful.
She stated that at the time she didn't give interviews.
Okay.
Meaning when pre-trial and after trial, she didn't talk to the press.
So how was that for her in building a relationship and sitting down with her, to the weight that she carried? Was there some guilt and things that prevented her, or was she ready to tell it?
She was ready to tell it. She was ready to tell it. She told it already in interviews at Cal State Northridge. I was not present on that day, but I was told there were 2 men and 1 woman, Karen, Dr. Stanford present. There was not a dry eye in the room when she gave the retelling of the story. And I was entrusted with helping her to tell her story. And it bothered me that, understand what I mean by it bothered me. I wanted to be sure that I was being true to her words, true to her story. But it bothered me. I tried to keep it to a minimum. Okay, Deborah, read this. Because I don't still keep revisiting it to keep being traumatized. But I'm not gonna take your story, do something, and just throw it out there without you knowing about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Deborah, I need you to read this. And there was at least 1 draft. She said, I didn't say that. I said, Deborah, remember when I asked you to read it? She said, oh yeah. I was like, okay. Mind you now, she's 70. What is it? She will be 75 in September. So her memories of that time period are very clear. But at the same time, like I said, I didn't want to keep re-traumatizing her. So I had to keep the proofreading process to a minimum. That bothered me.
So we're episode 5, Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. Thandisizwe Chimurenga is here talking.
Sizwe? People be adding to my name.
Get it in?
Sizwe.
I'm just doing Sizwe. My bad. So look, this is what I want to hear. So if this book is a warning shot to organizations today who are doing ineffective organizing or whatever the hell they are doing, what are the clear line messages that they should?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a warning. Well, it might be a warning to message, but it's for the individuals. Okay. Are you dealing with an organization, or are you dealing with a cult of personality? Are people encouraged to speak up, or are they condemned when they speak up? Is critique used? And we all know, I'm sure, if we don't know personally, we know somebody who has been harmed by criticism and critique. Can we do a better job of it? Absolutely. Is it still necessary? Absolutely. Being able to point out shortcomings in the organization, in the organizational work, in the organizational practice, in members' behaviors, being able to point out the shortcomings and seeing something done about it, not feeling like you are going against God because you spoke out. How dare you? Not getting that type of a response. Is the program clearly laid out of the organization, and are you following it? It helps if the organization has a code of conduct. That's another story for another day. Yusef, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
But hold on, did I answer you, Geechee? Because y'all got to reel me in. I can talk.
No, that's
all good. That's what we want to have, like a conversation. And,
that hit it though.
Yeah, okay. I mean, so let's start naming some stuff. For me, naming the male chauvinism that is so prevalent in our movement, our struggles, and part of it is at one period when we talked about the Black struggle, it was looked through the lens of the Black man.
Right.
The Black man is free. Black people free. black women and black children, or we got to get behind the black man, and things, and how, and which is rooted in this patriarchy, this white patriarchy of America that has infiltrated and corrupted a lot of behaviors and ideology where people are intentions meant well, but their actions end up leading to things such as Deborah experienced. Can you talk about that within the context of building with Deborah? And I mean, like when I'm not quick to call you like a feminist, not to say you're not, right? But one thing I appreciate about your views as a Black woman is holding my feet to the fire, holding us to the fire, because it's so easy to get caught up in that male chauvinist type of thing, because it's just what America is. And I think your journalism, your writing, and is part of that deconstruction that's necessary. So can you talk about that in relationship to the, again, we can't bring the Panthers in the 21st century, but we can't keep bringing this Black male chauvinist either.
Yeah. So as a semi-pivot, not only do we have Deborah's book, but we've got the Some of Us Are Brave books. That's volumes 1 and 2. And those are interviews. The bulk of the book is transcripts of interviews that I conducted with a lot of sisters, some men like Robin Kelly, quick interview with Robin Kelly, quick interview with Gerald Horn. But basically, these are transcripts of radio shows and interviews that I conducted. Some of them made it on air. Some of them I just had the audio with me. Also in there are shows that I did. I did not conduct the interview, but I had the audio. I had permission, played it over the air. So that's what those books are. They're a combination of all those things. So when you look at Deborah's story and you see Assata Shakur's story, this is from a cassette tape, a recording that members of the New African Women's Task Force of the New African People's Organization went over to Cuba, had a meeting with Assata. They recorded it. Didn't take me on the trip, but I was given the tape and I played that on the air. She talks about, again, coming into girlhood, but she also makes critique of Black male leaders and how Black male leaders were seen and how they were deferred to. Of course, Elaine Brown, who, for lack of better wording, is problematic. That's a whole nother show. A speech that Elaine Brown gave that I played on air, that is transcribed also. So in terms of identifying the behaviors of men, Black men in particular in our organizations, our struggle has for decades has been characterized in one of the ways it's been characterized as a struggle to redeem Black manhood. We lost our manhood. We got to get we got to get our freedom back. All Black people, not just the men, all Black people are under threat, are under attack. We are being murdered quickly in the streets and slowly through other institutions such as medical care. We are all under attack as a people. And so our struggle cannot be seen and should not be promoted as a struggle to redeem Black men. Oh, the Black man is an endangered species. We all endangered. They coming for all of us. So why the emphasis on Black men? Well, because America is a patriarchal society, and in a patriarchal society, in a white supremacist patriarchal society, white men only have their sights on men of other groups. And so the greatest threat in a white supremacist patriarchal society is going to be that man of color. Not just Asian men, not just brown men, but Black men. And when you talk about anti-Blackness, the absolute disdain that is held for Black life, when you talk about the gratuitous and relentless violence that is meted out to people, to Black people, as taught by Frank Wilkerson, you understand why Black men are seen to be the primary threat. But it's all of us. And so when we take that position in our organizations, we end up, you got to forgive me, what's the word I'm looking for? Not replicating, is that it? Replicating the same behaviors of the society we say we're fighting against. We're not fighting to take the head or the head position or to be the lead of this society. We need a new society based on values that are human affirming. We had many of those values in Africa before we got here. Other people, Native Americans, other Asians, everybody else has their own set of values. Those are the values that we need to uncover, return to where necessary, and whatever new values based upon where we are today, right now, have to be incorporated as we struggle for this new society.
So I've heard you said this before, and then I've heard you said it again today, in terms of making sure that if something don't seem right, like trust that, right? And so you have people who are courageous enough to join organizations, and then in joining these organizations and formations, you can deal with people with egos. You can deal with people silos, being isolated if you ever have to speak out. Like, what can you speak more to this idea of, like, if you feel something, if something doesn't seem right, how to kind of like navigate that situation, especially being in the organization. You might be new to an organization, you might have conflict before or whatever, but I would love for you to kind of speak more of that intuition.
Yeah, if you are in an organization, in particular, an organization that says it is for the liberation of Black people, that's me. I'm a Black person. The liberation of African people, new African people. So whether I'm in your organization or not, you're saying that you're for me. So I do not expect any of your members to manipulate and abuse me if I'm not in the organization. I'm one of those masses of people you say you're fighting for, right? Okay. So let's say we're in the organization or out of the organization. The first step is you confront that individual. What are you doing? Why did you do that? This is how that made me feel. You're not getting any traction or any action. Now, depending upon your organization, many of us adhere to sometimes unwritten codes of conduct. The code of conduct might not be on a piece of paper on a website somewhere. I can't text it to you. But because we've been in organizations, we know that we have to act a certain way or we will be perceived a certain way in our community. So we cannot act in a way that's going to bring disrepute to the organization or to the movement as a whole. So when you bring it to an organization's attention, they need to investigate it. One thing that I noticed, especially here in Los Angeles, I can't say it's national because I ain't been everywhere, but when Black Lives Matter first began, people had issues with them. They automatically went to the press, automatically took to social media. And it appears that this was done before they even had conversations with the individuals involved. It might be a genuine attempt to say, hey, I need somebody to help me with this because ain't nobody helping me. Or it could be an attempt to destroy the organization. We don't know, but I'm speaking to those of us who are in organizations. There is a particular way that we have to, conduct ourselves. Don't bring disrepute on the organization. Don't bring disrepute onto the movement. And then my thing is, if you've tried these things and then they don't work, then you can go public. Because one thing that consistently happens, in particular with women, because of patriarchy, always want us to be quiet. Always want us to shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't do that because you're gonna put the brother in. No, he should have kept his hands to himself. He shouldn't have been out here acting all kind of crazy. If you want people to look at you with respect, act better. And again, because we're talking about organizations, we're talking about not just any organization, organizations that are fighting for Black people, people with, I'll say, antisocial inclinations, antisocial tendencies. They need to be met with understanding, explain to them what the issue is, and then we go from there. I told you I can keep running my mouth. You got to reel me in. Did I answer that? So I done lost my thought. I done lost it. What was the question?
We're gonna have to clip that too. So you answered it right on. So and I believe that is a good chance that you're speaking to somebody who resonate with that deeply and able to kind of move. So I actually that's what I wanted. So I appreciate that.
I mean, if we're saying that we're gonna free Black people, that is our intention. Whether you call yourself servants of the people or not, whether you call yourself serving the people body and soul, you said you think Black people need to be free and you out here fighting for Black folks' liberation. Well, then how come you was doing X, Y, and Z last weekend? And how come you treated me this way the other day? That's incongruent. Those two don't go together. What's up with that? The problem becomes, do people believe that they should be accountable? Do you believe you should be accountable to humanity in general, to other Black people, to your organization? If you don't want to be accountable, you'll join with others and start, I don't know, a Black Power media and then run off and lock people out the platform. You know what I'm saying? You'll give them strikes and get their money messed up from YouTube. You'll do shit like that when you don't want to be accountable. Man. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, you didn't. Hey, let's speak the truth. And actually, you kind of not necessarily going where I'm going, but in terms of the truth. And you, as a prime example, I know you and others participated in the tribunal in relationship to the Black
Riders Liberation Party.
Can you talk about that in the context of what you just framed? In particular, we think there's nothing we can do, and specifically the women in the movement and organizations who are sexually assaulted, and how folks organized, got active and created, in particular, a system that was reflective of values, that was revolutionary, that was radical.
Let me state, before I get into that, though, let me state that, we say we believe in self-defense by any means necessary, but then we frown on a sister who calls the police on a brother. If a woman has suffered sexual assault, physical assault, I believe she has the right to seek redress in any which way that she can. And if we as a community or an organization do not have a mechanism to bring her assistance, to check the individual who has harmed her, and yes, for the record, I know Black men are also victims. If we do not have that mechanism, I'm not going to tell her what mechanism to not use. Handle your business, sis. Stay safe any which way you can. Now, with the tribunal that we...
Hold on, before you go, I just want to acknowledge, thank you for that, and bringing that out and making that distinction. Thank you.
Well, what time is it? Because y'all supposed to get to the other chapter. What time? What the time looking like?
We
okay,
get you the time, man. He gonna reel you in with his time.
Okay, Geechee. So real quick, several years ago, I got it in my head I was going to be a domestic violence counselor. So I was taking this class to get certified. It was being done by a sister who was a former LA County sheriff, and she had been in an abusive relationship with either an LA County sheriff or LAPD officer, law enforcement. I forget which one it was. But one of the things that she told me always stuck with me. She said, and this was speaking to the class in general, not just me, when Black women call the police, it's not because they want violence or harm to come to their partners. It's because they want the violence against them to stop. That's the reason why most sisters call the police. They want the violence that they are experiencing to stop. So I'm not going to tell any sister what not to do when she is facing violence. Okay, Black Riders Liberation Party was an organization, might still be, I don't know, I haven't seen them in LA in over 10 years, an organization of young people, former gang members, some in the foster care system, some just happen to be in the community and observe this organization, very, very militant organization, would stand up to the police all the time, every time. They considered themselves to be paramilitary. Yes, they had the black boots and the uniform, etc. but they would always stand up to the police. They would intervene when they saw the police jacking somebody up. They would work to quell gang violence. But the quote unquote founder, leader of this organization, a person who calls himself General Taco, T-A-C-O, take all capitalists out, whose slave name is Misha Colton, he decided that, the organization was his personal playground. So when they would ask for donations, because they weren't grassroots, they weren't no 501c3, they weren't getting no grants, that money would go to buying cigarettes, buying ho-hos and ding-dongs. I'm being serious. Ho-hos and ding-dongs, or whatever the word was. Zim-zams, I don't know what it was. Anyway, they would, sometimes get hotels for the night or motels for the night. They were sleeping in vans. If you let them into your house because they needed a place to stay, they would end up taking over your house and you would have to run out. And then there was the issue of the discipline of members, the discipline known as DPing, right? Taco was never DP'd, but it was said that several members, male and female, would be treated horrendously, with electrical cords, electrocuted, beaten, stomped, locked in a tied up, bound, placed in a bathtub, and locked into the bathroom. Where does all of this come from? Because their attorney, who is a community worker out here, New African by the name of James Simmons, had been told this by members and former members for years and had been asked to do something about it. Again, somebody in an organization not getting anywhere within the organization, they asked someone on the outside, can you help me? So what James did is began to investigate and ask questions. He asked other people, interview people, what happened, do blah, blah, blah. And based upon reading Safia Bukhari's book, The War Before, I can't remember the section or the page, but she talks about the formation of a tribunal, fact-finding, and then making these presentations. These are the charges against you. So he recruited myself and several other people, Geechee Sadiqi. Actually, Geechee Sadiqi was a willing participant because his stepson had been a member of the Black Riders Liberation Party and had told him of certain things. So we get the testimony of these former members. We get testimony from people not in the organization, members of the Jericho Amnesty Movement told us of behaviors they had witnessed. Members of the Chicano movement in Los Angeles told us of behaviors they had witnessed. Anarchist Black Cross representatives in Los Angeles told us of things they had witnessed. I was like, okay, well, this is ridiculous. We got to do something. So we put together, these are the charges that people have made against you. Can you come and we talk about this privately? No, we don't want to talk to you privately. That's bogus. That's COINTELPRO. We ain't doing none of that. Come back again. Are you sure? We'd like to talk about this with you because we're concerned. No, we done said we ain't doing that. You sure you want to do that? Yeah, F y'all. Okay. Call for a tribunal in the community. Bring the community together in one location. We came together in Watts Labor Community Action Committee Center. The people who have made these charges, they will be in attendance. The charges will be read. Would you like to come and answer these charges or defend yourself? They don't show up. We continue to have the tribunal, a panel of people, a cross-section from the community, some former Panthers, etc., sat on the tribunal body. You have heard these charges. What do you think? Yeah, they did that. He did that. Excuse me, not they. He did that. It was important that we talk about this is either Taco did this or directed this to happen. We did not want it to seem like we're saying Black Riders did this, even though some of the members was like, well, if it's Taco, it is us. See, that's that cult mentality in here. So we was like, hey, I'm sorry. So they were like, look, the community told them, this is what it is. We believe that this has happened. You've already said you're not paying any attention to what we're talking about, what we're doing. Now it's time for sanctions. You're going to be sanctioned. And it's available somewhere out there on the web, but if people contact me, I can provide that information. The sanctions were, Taco, you need to do restitution for this person. You need to pay for this person's dental work, this sister's dental work whose teeth you knocked out. You need to return the merchandise and or money from this merchant who you stole from. A brother in the community who had a store gave them merchandise to sell because he was tired of them begging all the time, he said. And they were supposed to split the money. They took the merchandise, never returned the merchandise or the money. A whole list of things that he was supposed to do. He never did that. Okay, now you are banned from the community. And what do we mean by banned of the community? Is you banned because Thandisizwe says so? Look, Thandisizwe and James and Geechee and Didon Kamachi and all these other people say, this is what you have done. You have brought, not only have you violated the human rights of people in your organization, of other Black people who you say you care about, you have brought disrepute onto the Black liberation movement, because people will see you and hear about what you did and see, I told you can't trust it. Them niggas, told you about niggas, can't give it no niggas, you can't do it. The N-word is what they'll lead with, right? You brought disrepute onto the movement. We can't have that. You have turned people off of struggle now, off of wanting to fight for Black people. You've turned Black people off of Black people now. We can't have that. So until you make restitution and do all these things, don't set foot in this community. And the key to it was making sure that other people hear about this. We provide you the evidence so that when Taco shows up and tries to do and say something in Detroit, Yusef's supposed to be like, hey, ain't you the Negro that did blah, 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 blah? And he's supposed to hang his head and walk away. And when he goes to Dallas and tries to do something, ain't you the one who? Hang your head and go away. When he moves up to the Bay Area, say, man, ain't you? Everywhere the person turns, they need to be hit with that. That's accountability. We're not asking Yusef or Geechee to do a citizen's arrest and hold him until time he can fly out there. Question, didn't you do this? Didn't this happen? It's embarrassing, number one, but it's also asking you to be accountable. Because when a person comes to you making charges, Geechee, we're going to put you on a tribunal because you did X, Y, and Z. When they come to you that way, Yusef, I know if they come to me that way, we're supposed to run to the tribunal. We're supposed to be the first one there waiting, sleep out overnight at the venue. Yeah, let's get this talk about it. Because number one, we'll either find out that they're lying, or number two, maybe I did do something and need to be checked for it. Either way, it's a win-win, right? It's a win-win for Black people, right?
Sound like it.
The people you say you care about, right?
Sound like it. Listen,
I told you I can go.
No, I think
the real me.
I really appreciate you. This tribunal, this measures and cultures of accountability is obviously something that we have not built yet, and I don't even know if we even close to building it yet. But I do think this is a conversation that could continue and should continue.
Absolutely.
But please let us know where we can find you and what you got going on coming up. I saw some people said that they wanted to shout you out for showing up in there to hear. Oh yeah, for the Southern California Library last Saturday.
Here, how you doing?
But where can the people find you and what you got coming up?
And talk about your show, root work.
So I do root work occasionally here on Black Liberation Media. It was supposed to be Thursdays. I basically get to it when I can. But definitely every Tuesday, though, I have committed to working with Cooperation Jackson and their educational series on the Build and Fight formula. So you can definitely find me Tuesdays on Black Liberation Media. I do most of my ranting and raving and nonsense on Facebook. I haven't been getting out as much, but that's about to change. So once I start getting out in the streets, I'll be on Instagram and TikTok more often. But you can find me there. You can find me in those spaces. Again, I do a lot of talking on Facebook. I try to keep it light because there's so much shit, excuse my language, so much shit out here. I try to keep it light and comical on Facebook. But Black Liberation Media and Root Work, you'll definitely find me.
Comrade Thandisizwe. We appreciate you, and we will talk to you soon. And y'all stay tuned as we transition and bring on our brothers from the SAC. Peace.
Thank you, Conrad.
Throwing copper at the coppers, but I'm shaking like Morocco. Say my prayers with the pistol, serve the sinners with the chopper. All my buddies got it from scratch. My house at Betty Crocker. His mama on D. He ain't even get no shot up. Profit is invisible. Profit come from product. He thinking buffet. He can't comprehend no potluck. God bless the child with his own powder to rock.
Yo. So we back with brother Jordan. What's up, Jordan? How you feeling, bro?
Good. How y'all doing?
Cooler, man. Just had a somewhat heavy conversation just now, but cooler.
Need some coffee, man. Need a break from that conversation, good brother.
Nah, man, I think that should be a extended panel, man. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But so look, so we got Jordan here from the CNB neighborhood programs out there in Sacktown.
No hood.
In no hood.
No, like you feel me? Neighbor program, no hood.
Neighborhood. Oh, y'all ain't in the hood? I thought y'all in the hood.
You feel me? We in the hood, but like the name, the proper name, you feel me, is neighbor program.
Neighbor programs.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? Tell us about the origins. How you doing? What y'all got going on out there?
Yeah, bro. So neighbor program was independent of we were our own entity, organization, whatever you want to call it, going back to 2020. Actually, you know, the first National Black Radical Organizing Conference that CNB organized, I was invited out to speak about what we had going on. And so for those who don't know what we have going on, we have 14 programs out here, right? Like my brother said, like in Sacramento, right? What we call occupied Nisa non-territory. And so, you know, we have a grocery program that is probably what we're most known for inside of our own community, right? Inside of the neighborhood that we occupy or that we, you know, sit in. We are in Oak Park, which is a historically African neighborhood with a lot of deep history. This is where the Panther office was in Sacramento, like the Nation of Islam, right? So there's a deep history of resistance, some shootouts with the pigs and all of that. So that's what like this neighborhood comes from. And so as one of our elders told us, we have just returned. A lot of us are you know, Panther babies, cubs, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, things like that. And so again, we have the free food, which is probably again what within the city probably knows us most for, because we give out about 1,000 boxes of groceries every month. And actually in 3 different locations. So 2 days a week in our spot from our building called the Shakur Center. And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we're in 2 different neighborhoods and some housing projects there. We also have a full-time kindergarten through 8th grade school, Malcolm X Academy for African Education. So that's what like most people nationally, internationally that have tapped in with our work are familiar with, because most people don't have schools and the babies learn Swahili, they learn self-defense, they learn how to farm. You know what I'm saying? They learn deep breathing practices. They learn their African history, and they play the drums and do poetry and perform and write political prisoners. And so that is probably the most beautiful shit I've ever been a part of, to be honest with you. And then again, 14 programs, right? We serve the unhoused community. We have a legal clinic. We have a health and wellness clinic. We have mindfulness classes, you know, community education, wellness, and we're expanding that. We have a doula clinic. We have a young brother who just joined to be head of the health and wellness clinic. So, you know, we got some motion, man. We got some motion.
That's a lot, good brother. Doing the damn thing. My question is, how did you and others in your collective begin to get into activism, into organizing, developing a consciousness to lead to where you guys are at, where for 2020 to start the programs?
Again, I think a lot of us have grown up in some type of culture or atmosphere that fostered that. And I think that's why for us, the school is so important and foundational, right? Because we understand like what you are being given, right, is what you are going to grow into be. And so we have a deep belief, right? Revolution is love. We believe this is like as our core politic. And we think that if you can instill that and like dignity, right? Dignity of their African being into these babies, right? That they will be able the ones that, you know, will lead and change the world. That's kind of really what we believe in. And so I think all of us, through our different shared experiences, right? Like I personally come from a father, you know, I was raised by a single father who had been, you know, drafted, like kidnapped out of his community, right? Drafted and stolen to Vietnam, and then came home and was recruited to be involved in the Panthers, and then got, you know, tracked by the FBI and whoop-de-whoop, got court-martialed for treason. Like, right, so like my pops, like, so then I had that poured into me, right? We have like my sister Mel, who was our Minister of Education, she's Haitian. So she's right, she's like, yo, I was born into this understanding of what it is our people are facing, right? My sister Rain, right, like a product of South Sacramento, right? Like of the conditions that our city produces. And I think all of those things, right, Kim, you know, they brought us together. They bring, you know, the continued people that come into our group, right? There's something that they had some understanding of who they were, this dignity, and then the conditions outside caused them to say, whoa, I don't rock with this, right? Again, like even our arts and culture lead, Isaiah, right? He's a musician, and the conditions of what he is living through say, I need to also do this thing. I also need to organize. I also need to fight for our people. So I think that, like, to say like what led us here, I think that it wasn't even just like, oh, we were all, I think, yeah, some of us have done all the studying, but I think, again, I think the thing that brings us all together here is this understanding that revolution is love, and this, we want to give the babies this dignity. That's something that I see in every single person in our team that is decided, like, I want to be a member. I want to be a core person of this. I want to build this thing out with it all, because we see all of our programs as political education, a way to push us, you know what I mean, to what we all want.
My bad. So I wanted to, so you have, and I think you kind of talked a little bit about it just now, the Malcolm X Academy, K through 8 full-time community school modeled after the Black Panthers, Oakland's community school. So maybe share a little bit like what's happening in the school, and then maybe kind of to build off of what we started out with the last conversation. Like, how would you say that y'all are different than the Panthers, and as it relates to addressing the current needs of the people today, or the young people today?
Yeah. So the Panther School, Oakland Community School, was actually their longest running program, right? It lasted for 12 years. And so that's a damn good model. And then you have like the Zapatista schools, right? In Chiapas, Mexico is something that we've studied. Our team has also studied the indigenous schools, right, that AIM had, and like the folks in the Dakota Pipeline have had. The schools like, right, that they set up in Guinea-Bissau. And again, we have come to this understanding, this belief that the babies hold so much power and truth and knowledge, right? And that we just have to allow them to figure things out. And so our school is very unconventional, right? You won't come in and see anybody sitting in like desks. Like, we do write, and we do all of the things that you would be looking for and hoping for in a school. But like you see the babies farming here, they grew all of that, start to finish, harvest. So that wasn't our first location. And that was like right before we joined CMB, right? Actually, we lost that space, and as us losing of the space was how we kind of joined CMB. CMB was like, "Whoa, what's going on? We like this project is beautiful. It shouldn't fall apart." And so that's how we were able to join and build. But the school, again, every week we go to the farm. So now we don't have a farm. So again, we had a farm space in our location. We no longer have that. Right, we're in the middle of it. We were still in the middle of the neighborhood, but we just were in like an old church building. So it had we had a basketball court. We had like almost an acre in the back. Right now we right smack dab in the middle of the hood, like right on Broadway, literally the main street, right from downtown through the neighborhood into the south and the rest of the city. And so we we have a brother who is a comrade who has a 10-acre estate, farming estate. And the brother has, like said, I want to make sure, right? Shout out to Dr. Ijoma. He said, I want to make sure that the babies have space to grow food, right? And so, we're at Estate Farms, and right now we're working with the Worm Whisperer Farms, and he's teaching the babies how to grow food, and to make their own soil, which is invaluable, right? So now the babies will be able to be anywhere, in any neighborhood, in any city, and be able to grow food, right? That's healthy for them. And this is what our babies are going to need to know how to do. This is what they're going to need to know how to organize our communities with. And so that is what is happening at our school, right? Every Tuesday, we all learn Swahili. Mr. Jordan, right? Like I have to obviously learn ahead of time a little bit, but we all learn Swahili together every Tuesday. That's something that we all do, right? To understand ourselves as Africans. They learn photography, they learn music, and they perform. Last year, right, we had a student written and performed play on Malcolm X's life for Malcolm X Day, because our school is called Malcolm X Academy, right? So Malcolm X Day is our always end of the year showcase. But they perform throughout the year. They're getting ready to perform at a Mumia event out here in at our space. They're going to get ready to hopefully, they're going to perform at a Panther fundraiser for the CMB Mutual Aid Fund, right? Like these are the things that the babies do. They create art. Oh, it's on this side of me. They create art, right? Like this piece in the back that has been in a few museums out here in the area. Man, like they learn and exhibit their learning and their knowledge in African ways, right? And that is what we are here to do and practice and preach. It's something that like our elders gave us. Again, Miss Asale is behind me. She was an educator at Oakland Community School. So these, and like you said, how are we different from the Panthers? What are we doing? And I think we are able to tap in with these folks and find out where did they struggle, right? What did they learn? How did they fall apart? What did they need to work through? And that gives us some perspective on what we need to do. And it's, again, why we have some of the programs that we have. Again, every second and fourth Monday, we have a mindfulness program where my sister meditates with us. And y'all might think, how is that organizing? Why is that organizing? If I put you on the phone with Mr. Aaron Dixon, right, from the Seattle Black Panther chapter, who wrote Our People Are Rising, he would tell you that he meditates every week. That is a constant practice of his, and that it is important for us to do. Right, our babies every morning, and again, now at this point,
hold on, sorry, cutting you off. You dropped that. Can you explain that though, briefly? Like what makes Aaron, because Aaron does it, significant for us to want to do it?
I think, right, like as people always say, like we want to learn from our elders, right? Here is an elder who is currently living, right? Again, most of us, we see a picture of the Panthers and we want to post it on our story. We want to act like we revere these folks, right? And so then we should take these practices that they are giving us and saying, hey, these are something that I've learned in my, in my later years in life that helped me, balance, help me understand how to maneuver and operate through life better. Understanding our wellness and the importance of that. Again, something that our babies do and have learned in practice, right? Again, part of our wellness, health and wellness clinic is the NADA protocol. And I know y'all do that out in Detroit and in Ypsi. So I know Michigan is heavy with that. So like, right, but we do NADA protocol, and our babies know that. They lead adults through that. They ear seed people at our clinic, right? And so our babies are able to take that and put that practice, and again, as an organizing technique that they will be able to bring to their community. Hey, I can bring this wellness to our people, because again, Dr. Matulu was using that to detox people off of heroin and methadone and XYZ. So we know that our people are still facing similar conditions, right? Now it's fentanyl, now it's, codeine, but we can still use these same practices. And so I think, right, just taking those lessons from those elders is something that helps us. Again, even we're just a little bit older, right? Like most of us aren't 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. So I think we're able, hopefully, right, to have these honest conversations, again, like y'all were talking about, calling folks out, calling folks in, right? Being able to say, hey, this is where I messed up. This is where I could have been better, right? Being able to share that knowledge, being willing to be transparent. And like I said, like that's something that we have tried to practice, right, in real time. Like when we were losing the space, right? When we lost the first center, like we tried to come and tell folks, this is what it is. This is what, you know what I mean? And we've tried to be honest and be real in that summation. And we kind of felt like maybe as we were losing the center, we didn't do that the first time, right? We didn't do a good job of letting folks know of what was really happening, how was everything going. So, now we like, this is how it goes, right? Because again, maybe the optics, right? Maybe the optics that we put out gave off the impression like, oh yeah, they got it, they up and running. But it was like, oh yeah, there's the roof was leaking and this was that, and so I think just again being able to, it's been an important practice here for us, right? Again, we call ourselves the Shakurs. For the Shakurs here in Sacramento, for us to ground ourselves and have a deep relationship with the elders and allow them to check us and correct us and hold us accountable. And so I think that has been something, and again, I think that relates to the last conversation y'all were having. For us, that's a very African practice, right? To have elders in your business, right? And be like, what do y'all think? Is this cool? How we are moving? Is this smooth? What do y'all think? Right. And again, like we invite the OCS Panthers that talk, hey, come see our school. Come tell us what's going on. Tell us what you think our babies are doing. We invite folks all the time.
So I didn't prep you for this, Jordan, but Jordan is one of the leaders in our comms committee for CMB, and he leads doing great work with Instagram. And so there's this post that's been fucking numbers up right now, and if Rain is in the background, tell Rain shout out for stepping in on the one comment. One brother was like, y'all not artists, y'all need some artists to comment on this, and she said,
like an artist made it,
and I approve. But like real quickly before you go, man, tell us your perspective, experience. What's up, Rain? Peace. What's y'all perspective on this Kendrick shit? Are people lighting up social media, argument, revolutionary, every conversation there is, except get your ass in the streets? But what's your take on that? And great post, great engagement. I appreciate you. What's your take?
Yeah. What's funny is like, it was in the summer when he did the pop out, we did the same thing, right? I made the same, and then niggas was like, it couldn't have been no Cali nigga that made the post, and I went live and I was like, nigga, what's up? Like, it's me. Yeah. But I think again, I fancy myself as a griot. You feel me? Again, like our whole team our whole team damn near fancies ourselves in that manner, right? And we have an arts and culture program that is heavy, right? You can see the color coordination, the red, like we own this. You feel me? Like, and Kendrick has said before, he had named himself as an African before. Like previously, Section 80 type shit. He's named himself as an African. And then now he's right. And then I know he's moving to like religiously, he's the Hebrew Israelite. I'm not even getting into nobody's religion. I that's cool. People can believe what they want to believe. I'm not against that. But what I am against, and what I said was a deliberate attack on Pan-Africanism, is he put African people, black people, however you want to frame us, call us new African people, I don't care, right? Niggas, right? If we all get mad at that word, if a white person say it, niggas. He put niggas in the red, white, and blue in the middle of a time when our people globally are fighting back against the red, white, and blue. That red, white, and blue could be France. That red, white, and blue could be the USA. That, you feel me? Like, but what he did was undeniably patriotic. It wasn't a clear, and if it was supposed to be some hidden message, Malcolm said, make it plain so that people can know. So like, nah, because he's invoked those names before. You feel me? Like, I'm not with that.
I'm somewhat confused by the position. I give a fuck about Kendrick. To be honest with you, but like the Kendrick is not a revolutionary. He's not a radical. So how could 100%. How could we expect to hold him to those standards?
So I'm not asking to hold him to those standards, but what the rhetoric was that his performance was revolutionary and that he was making a statement. So I was making a political analysis that y'all are missing. Like, y'all are saying that he's doing this thing, and actually he was anti this thing. Like, you can't be pro-black and pro-America. That shit is out. Like, that shit is not one and the same. And that was my argument.
Right, and it was more about the people's response than it was. This is to do something different.
I have been speaking about a Black American agenda that I think is being pushed. Right, the Olympics, Kamala Harris, Kendrick. Like, because again, even this whole, like, from the jump, it was framed as like the United States versus Drake, right? Like in United States versus Canada and Drake and Kendrick in the United States. There was just a lot of patriotism that I'm seeing, right? That African, Black, new African people are being asked to bring their Black Americanness. Even the conversation around reparations, right? Like, I just see a lot of this Black American agenda being pushed. And I want us to call it out. I want us to be aware of it. I want us to be aware of, again, I think it's a political agenda on Empire's part to calm us down, to not allow us to unify with folks on the continent and globally who are fighting back. Because again, I think that's what they're really deeply afraid of, right? I think, and so that's my analysis, right? That I continue to try to push forward. Which is that we need to be aware of the propaganda war, which is the Black Americanism to divide us amongst ourselves, right? So yeah.
And I appreciate you, man. I wanted just to get your thoughts on that, especially as you know, like you crafted up a good post to have a real conversation around. But again, thanks for your work. Thanks for tapping in with us, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, good brother.
All right, see you soon. So we episode 5 down. We had initial conversation around some important topics, especially as we talk about organization. And then we heard from Sac. How you feeling? Which kind of reflections you have?
Let me first state that I'm a new African Revolutionary Nationalist that also holds a Black feminist thought. And I think that's important for me to state as a result of I'm a black man. It doesn't denote me by any means. It actually has enhanced me in terms of how I operate and how I think. And I think it's necessary. I was raised by my mother, and my mother raised me to be a man, nothing more, nothing less. And I think the conversation that we had with our comrade sister, Thandi, I think that conversation needs to be happening more often. And I'm glad a lot of the questions that you asked really led into organizational structures, failures, and et cetera. And it's not even necessarily a gender perspective per se. It's obvious it's at the top of the list, but it talks into other flawedness in our structures and how we move, and that we continue to perpetuate. And we wonder. Even to our last conversation, I think the more I process what Brother George just said, I think the lack of movement, of our movement, the lack of our presence, where our people are hungry for Kendrick Lamar, our people are hungry for other individuals, that they're looking for a leader, and also that when you're in America, you are Americanized by default. W. Du Bois talked about the double consciousness. So, and I get the need now in the way he explained it, the importance of the analysis, but also it's just important to understand the context from my end of looking at us. How we start out. What more can we do if we're serious about this to be able to fill in those gaps?
Yeah, no, I also think, even as I started reading some of Comrade's work, I feel like that's the conversation that I wanted to at least start tonight, and eventually like keep that going, because I think it is all connected. So as you think about some of the things that she was laying out, as you said, it definitely focus on gender, but it also can focus on just organizational structure in general. And yeah, I would just love to pull her in to a panel and have like a more broader conversation around that.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm gonna say, I think one of the you say all the time jewels that she dropped was code of ethics. Where are our code of ethics, and it is so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. I think something I was thinking about earlier today, whenever we are doing this work, right? How do we look at it? And is it something that we feel like we own? Like, so for instance, if you're building a program or you're building something, like, is it for the people? Is it for you to give to the people? One of the things that Hiram said that I think George Jackson quote, like, we don't do for the people what they can do for themselves. So if you're organizing them to have a solution or some type of institution, as organizers, how do you engage it in a way where you like the owner of it and you're protecting it like it's yours? It's not something that you're doing and yielding to the people, but it's yours. So,
you know why they do that, or why we do that?
Why so?
It's that sleeping stale of being America that's in us, and that's like what's missing in our conversations and our work in general is the transformation, the continue the uprooting that out of us, and because it's only into you and I fall out. Man, get off my show. Before it was our show. All of a sudden now it's my show, nigga. Get out my house and things. So I've said it a long time ago. Whatever I create, it don't belong to me. It belongs to the people. And that sounds cliche, but it's a value system more than any words that I could ever speak. And I practiced that, learning that from like the first institution that I helped build. Even though I didn't build it for myself, but I didn't have the wherewithal to separate it. So when we built the second institution, I went into that making sure I put in the things in place that this is not Yusef Bunchy Shakur. He may have been the driver, but this is community based. This is other individuals that for us to make this happen.
Look, man, we appreciate y'all tuning in again for Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win, episode 5. My brother Yusef. What you got going on this week, man? This weekend, anything coming up?
Man, it's my birthday weekend, good brother.
Birthday.
Yeah, birthday. I ain't doing shit. I'm saying like I'm about to turn it up, go listen to some Kendrick.
Hop on a plane, come buy me a drink for your birthday, bro.
might try to do that, man.
Hey, let's make that shit happen, man. Let's pour up. Everybody invited. If you're in Atlanta and the surrounding areas, come on out. See, Monty saying happy birthday. See, she about to come through and drop us. You know, matter of fact, Monty, you can just buy all us the drinks. I know you somewhere close to Atlanta. Buy us the drink for you. You said get all the happy birthdays. Whoa. Yeah, man. Listen, we appreciate y'all coming through. Definitely make sure that you hit some thoughts in the comments. Share this with your peoples, your cousin, your uncle, whoever. We really appreciate y'all coming through, and I think we're gonna see y'all next week on this.
Man, dope show tonight, bro. For real.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Anyway, everybody else, go do something productive with yourself.